Let's talk about how scoring for episodic TV is different than creating music for libraries.
Yeah, that's a good point to get across. Like I mentioned earlier, library music, you do it at your leisure. You can do it at your leisure. I mean, there's no deadlines with library music. Uh, of course, still the um, the quality is, especially nowadays, the quality is just as good. I'm not gonna say that one is better than the other. It's no, not at all. It's just that when you write music for episodic TV for TV shows, first of all, you're part of a team, and whether that team is the lead composer or his other composers and yourself, the first thing that usually happens is that you have to have a common template in at so that the music has a unifying quality to it. I mean, we pretty much have the same libraries. We have we even have same presets that we use in many of the shows. So uh, uh, establishing identical templates or near identical templates is very important, and you have to be able right away to either purchase the libraries that are going to be used. If you don't have them already, you're going to have to be able to get them and put them in your rig immediately. Learn as fast as you can, because some of that stuff you just can't you just can't rely on the presets the whole time. You have to do some tweaking to get it to sound like everyone else. So you're establishing templates, and you work in conjunction with a team. You're not by yourself. That's a huge difference. Another difference is that there's always deadlines, and I'm going to use again the word that I used before, the word brutal. The deadlines can be sometimes can be very brutal, and there is really no excuse if you cannot make the deadline. There isn't. You could be sick, you could be dying. If you're part of the team and the lead composer has to deliver at a certain date, then the whole team has to deliver with him or her. There's no, you cannot back out. So once
Not even during COVID.
Well,
I'm surprised. It's like, I've got COVID. They're intubating me now in the hospital, putting me on the respirator. Doesn't matter. Deadline's tomorrow at noon.
a good friend of mine who lives, with episodic TV, death is not even an excuse.
That's funny. Okay, so
Yeah.
so tell us. I'm curious. Do more than one of you work on the same cue, or do you guys look at a show and go, okay, so this hour of television has 57 cues. I'm just pulling a number out of thin air right now. So you're going to do a third, he'll do a third, and she'll do a third. And is that how it's broken up, or do multiple people work on the same cue? How does it go?
There's it works in different ways. One way is that let's say you have a 40-minute episode. I might get the first half or the second half, and the lead composer or whoever else is on the team will get the half that I'm not getting. I could be given the entire episode, and usually when I'm given either half or entire or even 10 minutes of something, it's me doing it. It's not someone else. I'm not working on a cue with someone else. It's my music. That, of course, if I get asked to revise something, I would gladly revise something. Or if the lead composer feels that they need to add something on top of something that I did, then of course it goes without saying that it will happen. Of course, another thing that might happen is that my cues might get rejected, and I'm fine with that too. But Yeah.
So, is there I'm sure there's a sonic identity to the show. So you and the lead composer have to be simpatico, and you would almost have to think like husbands and wives that have been married a long time. You know how your wife is going to answer a question oftentimes, or how she might react to something. So when you're writing, you are writing in the style that the lead composer would write in if they had time.
Yeah, and a lot of times, and this is, I'm glad you asked that. A lot of times, the producers of the shows send us music ahead of time that they feel music that we haven't written, that is, from other composers that they feel are a good fit for the show. When I made that example before, that I was given 12 cues to listen to and make something out of them, that was exactly the case.
Wow, interesting. And I never knew that. I learned something, all those times I think, oh, I've interviewed so many people, I know everything. I don't know everything. And I just learned something from you, which is it is important for you guys, meaning guys, gals, whomever, that are the composers, to have virtually identical libraries of sounds, because you can't have like a really something that sounds really strident. Like one cue is strings that are recorded close and they sound strident, and the room doesn't have a lot of reverb, and the next cue that comes up is very lush and not strident and got a lot of natural reverb in the room. So that would seem inconsistent. It would get your attention, which is, you don't want the music to get your attention, you want it to enhance the scene. So you guys really have to think about that. So do you talk to the other composer and say, okay, I'm getting ready to do my half of the show. Which strings did you use? Or which orchestral percussion did you use? Or which synth patches did you use? Do those discussions take place?
Yeah, those discussions take place before we record our first note, because like I said, we have to be consistent. The consistency needs to be throughout. And if at any point in the process anyone feels that there's deviation from that consistency, then it's something that needs to be addressed immediately, because once the cues are out the door and they go to the editing bay of the editors and the producers, and they will hear that inconsistency, and they will immediately slap your wrist and say, hey, well, what's going on, Fortunately,
Wow.
this hasn't happened to me or to us or to any team that I worked in. But it's a situation that is always worked out before the first note gets recorded.
Interesting. And are you at a point with, let's say you're working with somebody who's the lead composer, they were on the show before you got brought in. Are you given the ability to say, hey, Mr. Lead Composer, my friend, my co-worker, that cue you sent over, it's not as good as the other stuff. Can you also encourage them to improve?
Well, it's not for me to say. I mean, if the producers are happy with what we sent them, then it's their call. It's not really mine. And ultimately, if again, as I said before, we're in the service business. We need to make sure that whoever is on the receiving end is happy with what. It has nothing to do with how I feel about something. Even with my music, it really has nothing to do with
Right.
how I feel about it. It's how they feel about it. Does the best two words you can hear from a producer or a director of a movie or a TV show? It's just two simple words when we're a composer, and those words are, "It works."
I love it. It works.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's great.
So once,
Go ahead.
If it works for them, then it works for us. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.